Hello friends, welcome to Knowledge House. Let's look into today's The Hindu newspaper, that is of the date 5th of September 2018. So as usual, we'll be looking only to certain articles that are important from a UPSC and various other competitive exams perspective. So I welcome you all to this video. Let's start. The first article is about the state panel to track hip implant patients. So Johnson and Johnson company is involved in this particular case. So they have a subsidiary company named DEPUY. That is it is spelled like DUPUY, and let me call it DEPUY. So they have an artificial hip replacement kind of product, and it is called articular surface replacement hip implant. That is ASR hip implant. So it is articular surface replacement. So Depoy Orthopedics was a so this particular product of Depoy Orthopedics was globally recalled in 2010 after reports of leaching metals and causing severe pain, like some kind of fluid accumulation and metal poisoning in patients. So, however, till date, only around 1080 patients have reached out to the ASR helpline set up by the pharma company for guidance on revision surgery and reimbursement process, and around 275 reimbursement surgeries have been completed so far. So in 2011, the Maharashtra Food and Drug Administration first initiated action against this pharmaceutical giant by registering an FIR. So the whole news is about the state panel to track hip implant patients. So the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has now came to the scene and has said that the state level committees consisting of two orthopedic surgeons or physical medicine rehabilitation experts and one radiologist from government hospital and a representative from the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, that is CDSO, and we'll be looking detail what exactly is CDSO later part of this analysis, and a drug controller from the respective state. So these people will be constituting a committee, and that should be formed to identify the patients who have received the faulty hip implant by the pharmaceutical company. So the notification made public on Tuesday also said the state should advertise widely to reach out to the patients, and the committee has recommended, among other things, that the constitution of general expert committee and a regional expert committee for determining the exact quantum of compensation after taking into account the minimum amount of 20 lakh. So patients now can reach out directly to the committees, and also the Controller General of India, that is DGCI, Dr. Ishwara Reddy told that is he has told the press the same thing, that is the patients can now reach out directly to the committees. So that's all about the news part of this. So who can apply for compensation? That's the real question here. The patients implanted with ASR, that is, once again I'm repeating the full form, it is articular surface replacement. So patients implanted with ASR and no revision surgery performed or recommended to perform. That is, patients implanted with ASR and no revision surgery performed or recommended to perform, they can apply for compensation. Those implanted with ASR and one revision surgery performed but no disability, they also can apply for compensation. This is what is mentioned in this pictorial part. Those implanted with ASR and one revision surgery and suffering from disability, all these people can apply for compensation. And patients implanted with ASR and more than one revision surgery has been performed and they are suffering from disability, they too can apply for. So this is how the whole thing works. Anyway, this is actually a kind of or it can be linked something kind of a negligence from this company, because this has caused the cost of such a side effect will be enormous, because there are chances that people will have very much complications when it comes to this metal poisoning and all that. So definitely how the state is going to intervene, or what kind of actions will the state take against this particular company, and the company will have to say something, or from a judicial point of view, or not exactly from a judicial point of view, but there should be proper hearing from the both sides. The patients will have to say a lot, and also the company also will have to say a lot. So and also there will be certain limitations on both sides also. So all these have to be taken into account, and let's hope a good settlement will be completed in this case. So that's all important about this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the 2+2 meeting, which is scheduled later this week. So 2+2 to address the issues on Iran and Russia. That's what this article is titled. So, New Delhi hopes the US will consider the importance of its relationship with Russia carefully while considering any moves to sanction the defense purchase from Russia under the new CATSA. So, I think CATSA has been already undertaken, the whole explanation part has also been said. So, anyway, I'll repeat the statement, repeat the whole thing once again. CATSA refers to countering America's action, that is, countering America's adversaries through Actions Act. So, as per this act, if any country that works against the interest of the US or against the direction of the US, according to this particular act, the United States as a country will impose sanctions on them. So, definitely, this raises questions regarding the other part, like Russia and Iran, which all are, like they always work against the US, or they all are always against the US. So whoever gets into a good relationship or a good deal with both these countries will definitely be under the radar of US. So right now India is considering S-400 long range air defense system from Russia. So this definitely raises the raises a lot of concerns from the US point of view, especially considering this act. And the other angle from which we have to analyze CATSA is about Iran. So right now, as you all know, the US has withdrawn from the JCPOA deal that was reached in 2015 under the Barack Obama administration. So right now, the things are back to the like there is a lot of temperature between the relationship of US and Iran, and also we depend a lot on Iran for our oil demands. So definitely, and US recently said that we have to reduce our imports from Iran to a level of zero, and we have said that it is not possible. So all these issues will be the hot topics for discussion for the 2+2 summit, which is scheduled in the later part of this week. And also another important agreement that is likely to be signed in this particular is regarding COMCASA. And I have already taken it up in the previous analysis. It refers to the Communications Compatibility and Security Agreement. So that's all important about this article. All this analysis, it refers to more kind of statements from the US defense personnel and all that. So anyway, this is the whole idea about this article. So we have two major issues to handle. One is regarding the oil imports from Iran, and the other one is regarding the S-400 deal from Russia. So that's all important about this article. Let's move on to the next one. It is actually related to GS1, not GS2, because it is a youth related. It is actually a survey, and it states that the more number of youth, a young person in India who thinks that the government is corrupt is 4% less likely to vote than the peers who think otherwise. That's what the survey says, and these numbers are lower than the global average. And the plot shows the impact of corruption perception among the youth and turnout in most recent elections across countries. Generally, where such perceptions are high, the voter turnout has to be low. Unlike India's case, where turnout has been high. So the study was conducted by ORB Media, and they found that the younger adults who think their government is corrupt were between 7 and 15% less likely to vote than their peers who don't perceive corruption. So over 40s who saw corruption were 4% and 7% less likely to vote. Anyway, this raises serious questions regarding the whole process of how to make it more participative, because even in 2014 the voter turnout was something like less than 60% or something like that. Anyway, it was not more than 90%. That's the point I'm trying to drive to you. So that's all important about this article. We have the concern is regarding the Representation of People Act, and how to make the whole election process more participative, and how can and various cases of various kinds of issues that the election commission is now facing. And recently there was an all party meeting, and in which the opposition parties, that is they called for that like we have to go back to the pre-electronic voting machine era, that is we have to use ballot papers. So anyway, there's a lot of process to be made out of that, because the EVM was introduced, electronic voting machine was introduced after amending the Representation of People Act 1951. So anyway, that's all important about this article. I was just discussing what all kinds of dimensions from which we should analyze this particular article. So that's all about that. Let's move on to the next one. It is regarding the RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. So Suresh Prabhu, the Commerce and Industry Minister, claims that a breakthrough has been achieved in the RCEP talks. So according to Mr. Prabhu, the 16-member group accepted some of the key demands from India, especially on differential tariff regimes for different countries, different country groups like China, and in allowing a 20-year implementation period for the agreement. Earlier, there were reports that indicated that India would face a stark choice between agreeing to end RCEP negotiations by a deadline at the end of 2018 or to step back from the negotiation, while other countries, including 10 ASEAN countries and China, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea, will move on. So another key area where India scored, according to the officials, was establishing the linkage between services and goods negotiation. So this was again a cause of concern from the Indian point of view. So given that some of the countries are not welcoming or allowing the movement of labor. So of the 16 countries that have been negotiating for the RCEP, India does not have a free trade agreements with 3 countries, that is Australia, New Zealand, and China, for which the negotiations will be separately held, the bilateral pairing mechanism. So we have been highlighted that we cannot negotiate through RCEP route with these 3 countries. So we have to deal them separately. I am happy to say that India's decision has been accepted. That's what Mr. Prabhu has said. So that's all important about this. Anyway, I'll be taking up RCEP in later part of this article. So there are two things to be taken care of. One is regarding the Central Drug Standards Control Organization, and the other one is regarding RCEP. So let's look into the next article. That's a comment from the airline CEO, that is Qatar Airways airline group CEO Al Bakr, and his comment was the FDI norms are hampering our India plan. So Qatar Airways is interested in launching an airline in India, but the foreign direct investment policy for the aviation sector in the country is an impediment for the global carrier. That's what this particular official has said. And we are told that as an airline you can own only 49%, but the Qatar Investment Authority can own 100%. However, the Qatar Investment Authority is the owner of the Qatar Airways. So then again, it becomes a chicken and an egg story. So we really don't want to know what is allowed and what is not. That's what the comment from this was the kind of comment from this particular official. So on whether the airline would be interested in picking up stakes in Air India, the CEO said that the Qatar Airways would look at acquiring the Indian carrier along with a strong partner, but without the baggage. While the huge debt of Air India was not an issue, and that could be restructured, the Qatar-based carrier would not be interested in acquiring the ground handling, catering, engineering arms of the national carrier. So that's all important about the newspaper today. Let's, as I promised, let's take up Central Drug Standard Control Organization and RCEP. So the first one, Central Drug Standards Control Organization, is the Central Drug Authority for discharging the functions assigned to the central government under the Drugs and Cosmetics Act. So they have 6 zonal office, 4 subzonal office, and 13 port office, and 7 laboratories. Anyway, it's a fact-based thing. So major functions of CDSO: one is regulatory control over the import of drugs, and the approval of new drugs and clinical trials, and meeting of Drug Consultative Committee and the Drug Technical Advisory Board, and approval of certain licenses as the central licensing approving authority is exercised by CDSO SEO headquarters. So there is another important body, that is Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission. It is not a spelling mistake for Pharmaceutical Commission. It is a Pharmacopoeial Commission. So this is again an autonomous institution under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, that is dedicated for setting of the standards. So this body actually sets the standards, and this Central Drug Standard Control Organization will implement the same. So they are entitled to, or their mandate is to set standards for drugs, pharmaceuticals, and healthcare devices, technologies, etc. Besides providing the reference substances and training. So that's all important about this particular article. Anyway, leave it. It's actually a printing mistake kind of thing. That's a typing mistake kind of thing. So that's all about drug standard control organization. Let's move on to the next one. It is about regional comprehensive economic partnership. So this is actually a free trade agreement or a comprehensive regional economic integration agreement between 10 ASEAN countries and its 6 FTA partners. So have a look at the countries that are involved here. Until 2017, the 16 APSC member states accounted for 40% of population. That is accounted for population, that is population of 3.4 billion people with a total GDP of 49.5 trillion, approximately 38% of world's GDP and 29% of world trade. So that's all. So this definitely emphasizes how important is this particular partnership is going to be. So that's all important about today. I hope you like this video. Then please hit the like button. Do share it with your friends. Thank you very much for watching this video. And you can follow us on Telegram. You can also visit our blog, that is www.knowledgehouse.co. And please do subscribe our channel so that you won't miss any updates from us. And also you can support us by making donations to this particular Paytm number. And also another way you can support us is by sharing this video as much as possible. So that's all about today. Have a nice day.